Being a nurse practitioner is amazing, but I wish there were some things that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner. So stay tuned. Welcome back, Psych Dude family. It's good seeing each and every one of you guys today. And if you are new here, I'm the Psych Dude. I'm a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And in this channel, I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, and topics related to nurse practitioners and nursing and PAs. Please feel free to subscribe and like this video and follow me on Instagram at the Psych Dude. So, you probably clicked this video because you're interested in wanting to know more about things that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner. And I love my role as a nurse practitioner, but I wish there were things that I wish I would have known when exiting school and becoming a nurse practitioner, because I would have better prepared myself. I would have done these things, known about these things, and just did things and put things in place so I could be well prepared as a nurse practitioner. And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. But I'm here to give you this information and give you top 5 things that you should know prior to becoming a nurse practitioner. And maybe these things might sway you away from being a nurse practitioner, and maybe it might make you more excited to become a nurse practitioner. So let's get started, guys. So the first thing that I wish I would have known is you're pretty much thrown into a management role. Maybe it might not look like that on paper, but you're pretty much thrown into it because you're going to have to manage so many different things and so many different staff. You might have to manage MAs, CNAs, LVNs, RNs, LPTs, and sometimes even other office staff. And fortunately, it gives you that experience, but unfortunately, if you didn't have that experience prior to becoming a nurse practitioner, you're pretty much thrown into it. You have to do some scheduling. You have to manage different staff members in order for you to get your job done correctly. And it is a pretty steep learning curve, and you have to know some of these things. And I wish I would have known this going into it. Luckily enough, I had some management experience, especially as RN and delegating tasks. But at the same time, I wasn't necessarily aware of certain things that might go on in the outpatient setting, and I wish I would have known this prior to becoming that nurse practitioner, or at least learned it in school, because it would have given me that foundation to better prepare myself when I was in that role. The second thing that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner is school is relatively hard, especially when becoming a nurse practitioner and the amount of classes that you actually have to take, especially juggling clinicals along with those classes and studying for tests, doing papers, and working as an RN. I can't even tell you how hard it is. Yes, I've said in other videos that RN school is relatively harder, that I think RN school is relatively harder compared to NP school, but NP school is no joke whatsoever, especially if you are working full-time. And there's so many people out there saying, oh, you can go to NP school full-time, and work full-time. It's definitely possible. I did it, but at the same time, I definitely had no time for anyone else. And I would say I wish I would have known this because school was a lot harder than what everyone else said it. But at the same time, I'm listening to people that might have been working part-time or that might have not been working. So it's definitely take those things into consideration. And honestly, you have to think about that school is extremely hard. And I wish I would have known because I would have done things differently compared to what I did recently. The third thing that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner is you are going to be unpaid for a lot of the hours that you work not doing clinical care. And honestly, I did not know that, and I went into work thinking, oh, I'm going to have so much free time to do this, so much free time to call patients, so much free time to review labs. But a lot of the times the hours that you're working are actually face-to-face hours with patients. A lot of jobs don't give you that opportunity to have in order for you to call patients, call pharmacies, call providers in order to collaborate, things like that. You don't necessarily have that. Yes, there are certain jobs that give you that time, but for the most part, as a nurse practitioner, you have to find that time, and you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna do after hours. Either you're gonna be finishing paperwork, finishing charting, you're gonna be calling pharmacies to follow up with patients in regards to their medications, you're gonna be calling different providers to collaborate amongst one patient, and these are things that are unpaid. And I wish I would have known this, because I would have just stuck to RN. I'm just kidding. But I wish I would have known this, because a lot of the time I'm spent after work, I'm actually working a lot harder, which takes away from my time with my family. And the fourth thing that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner is NPs are in demand, but there aren't that many job opportunities out there, especially if in your busy areas, busy cities, things like that. Yes, they promote that there's so many different opportunities for NPs, but at the same time, there are not that many jobs. And I wish I would have known this, because it feels like I was given so much information in terms of, oh yeah, you're going to be in high demand, you're going to be blah, blah, blah. But they didn't necessarily tell us that some of these job opportunities are either paying way too low for what you're doing, or there are not that many job opportunities out there. Luckily for me, as a Psych NP, there's so many different opportunities, so many different jobs out there. But as FNPs, as PEDS NPs, as acute care NPs, there are not that many opportunities, and you might have to settle for a different opportunity within that classification as a nurse practitioner, and maybe even take lower pay than what you were expecting. And that's something I wish they would have told us prior to actually entering this market, instead of selling us this fake opportunity saying that there's so many different jobs out there, when in reality they're not. Yes, we're going to be in demand, but the job opportunities aren't there. And the fifth and final thing that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner is you may have more autonomy than you would like. And it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing if you already have so much RN experience and you kind of know what to do, what to expect, especially as a new grad NP and just working your way around the system. It might be good for you, but it might not be good for you, especially if you're coming with a year of experience or not even any experience as an RN and being thrown into that role as a provider and doing all of these things, seeing all of these patients, seeing these acute patients, seeing these chronic patients, and seeing all of these harder patients than you expect. And if you have too much autonomy and you don't necessarily have that support, it's going to be a really steep learning curve. But on the other hand, once you gain that experience as an NP, then it might be worth it, because you don't necessarily have someone over your back and just constantly checking your notes, constantly doing this, constantly telling you what to do. So it's one of those things that I wish I would have known, because you always hear about, oh, your collaborating physician or your supervising physician is constantly going to be there. The truth of it is, they're not always there. They might be available by phone, they might be different days than you, and it might be harder for you to get in touch with them, especially when you're having a difficult case in front of you where you kind of need results right away or need answers right away. You definitely have to take that into consideration, because, yeah, you might have way more autonomy than you think. And as a new grad, that's not a good thing. But once you gain that experience, it can be a good thing. But I wish I would have known this prior to graduating as an NP, instead of them telling, yeah, they're always going to be there, because the truth of it is, they're not always going to be there. Well, Psych Dude family, this concludes our video, and I'm extremely thankful you made it this far, and I'm glad that you were able to watch this video and actually learn about the things that I wish I would have known prior to becoming a nurse practitioner. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because these honestly things that if they were able to explain this to us towards the end of our program, or even in the beginning of our program, it would have definitely been helpful, especially transitioning in the role from as RN to NP. And hopefully I can make a video that's going to help transition Psych RNs into becoming Psych NPs, or even other units that you may specialize as an RN and transitioning to a Psych NP. But yeah, I think these are important facts, especially with not knowing, and if you don't necessarily know all of the information that you're going to be expected to know and all the information, or even how to manage people, and you don't necessarily have that experience, I would definitely recommend trying to figure out ways to learn it. I know it's going to be hard, and it's one of those things that you're just going to have to be thrown into it in order for you to learn it, but there are things that you can do, things you can put into place for you to transition into that role a little bit more smoothly compared to everyone else. You know what I mean? Well, guys, like I said, definitely take all of these 5 things into consideration, because our role as an NP is way different compared to our role as an RN. And as an RN, we typically always have that preceptorship, or we have someone there in the beginning to help us transition, but that might not be the case for you as an NP, and I wish there were, but since we're so scarce, some of us NPs, like we're such high demand, we're not going to necessarily have someone that's going to hold our hand throughout this process. And I'm glad I was able to give you these 5 different things just so you can better prepare yourself. And I wish I would have known these 5 things prior to going into that role as an NP. As always, guys, have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a big thumbs up and follow me on Instagram at ThePsychDude. Have a good day, guys. Bye.